Thank you, Bill, and thank you, everyone, for attending today. We put together this series of webinars following, as you can see, a very large revision to the self-employment chapter. Before it was stuck in income special types and no one could find it, and decided it was time that we actually gave some better guidance and talked to you guys about it. So this webinar is a chance to kind of hear about the thought process about how we developed the chapter, what the different tools are for, and to give you an opportunity to ask some questions. So if questions come up, please do ask them. I'll pause on each slide, and Bill will let me know what the questions are that you've sent over. If you think about something later and want to ask it, go ahead and send it over. If it doesn't have to do with the slide that we're talking about right then, I'll probably wait to the end to answer it. But do ask those questions that come to you. We really do want to hear if you have anything that doesn't make sense to you, want some clarification, or even if there is a suggestion, you can send it now or even later after the webinar. Send it to Bill's team on maybe how we can improve the manual, because the whole point of this is to get the information to you in a way that is useful. So I think we're ready to get started. Okay, so how did we get here? And there's been a growing number of self-employed people applying for benefits here. And there's a couple reasons for that. We, of course, have had a downturn in the economy. We have clients that have been with us for some time that are, getting creative on how to have income to take care of their families. And we also have had people who have been self-employed and successfully self-employed for a number of years. And so they may have an established business, and this is the first time that they have applied for benefits because the income and downturn of the economy has lasted long enough that their business has suffered and they may be eligible for benefits. So we've had for some time self-employed experts across the state, and very often there is just one per office or less than that even on people who work with self-employment and understand it. We just thought it was time, especially with the growing number of self-employed cases that we're seeing, that we kind of let everyone else know what the secrets are to figuring out self-employment. Very often, people are very intimidated by working with self-employment, and we're hoping with the change in the manual chapter and with this webinar and the opportunity to ask questions and interact, that people will feel more comfortable with working with those self-employed cases. So to get here, we had a work group composed of field reps, trainers, quality assurance, and policy folks that really looked at where we were at and what was needed. And those tools in the manuals and the links are what actually those of us who are experts have used for a long time. So very often if you've gone to a self-employment expert, some of the things that we now have linked to right off of that first page that Bill showed you are the things that we may have on our favorites on our desktop or our links. This is kind of where we've been going for quite a while. And the desk aids are actually what was developed by the input of the field reps and the trainers to help everyone go through this process. So we may link back to some of the actual materials during the webinar, but really this webinar is to have you kind of experience what the thought process is of going through a self-employment case. And so those tools you can then use afterwards, and really hoping that once you get used to this and start using the tools, that a lot of this process, even though there's several steps, should really become almost second nature and be a lot easier with a little bit of practice. So first things first, is someone self-employed? So this seems like an easy question, but it's been coming up more and more. So we need to know, are they self-employed? Are they licensed? What kind of business is it? And what documents I need are the 4 items. Bill?
Sorry about that. A little over exuberant.
Are the license? No, that's okay. I went through them all. What kind of business is it, and what documents do I need? And this is where we're going in the webinar today, to just kind of hit these points, and then we'll talk about budgeting after that. So next, step 1, looking for self-employment. And so really simply put, it's selling goods or performing services for profit, or at least for money. And we would want to be thinking about if someone is self-employed if they state they own their own business, or they list income from self-employment. And I do want to caution you or encourage you to think about the phrasing you're using when you talk to someone in an interview. Some things, like the question, if you ask them, a person, are you self-employed, may not translate well. And for our LEP clients, and we do have a great deal of our self-employed clients on our LEP, and that phrase may be misunderstood. So are you self-employed could mean to them, are you yourself employed? And that's not exactly what we're going at. So it might be better to ask, do you own your own business? Or something to that effect. So we're not asking for a lot of documents from folks that really have an employer. So now we know they're self-employed. Now we're looking at what type of business, what the structure is. So we're looking at whether or not they're unlicensed. Are they a sole proprietor, a partnership, and for these purposes that would be any partnership otherwise designated is a general partnership, or a limited partnership, and we'll get into that in a minute, a limited liability company, or a corporation. And so you can kind of see from this list, and an explanation of these Bill touched on earlier, and those links are off the page, and we'll explain more about these structures. But that's one of the reasons why you really should look up the business. And please, when you look it up the first time, if it's not, if it's not narrated, what kind of structure they have, go ahead and look it up, and then please narrate that it's there, so the person coming behind you doesn't have to look it up again. Sometimes the structure can change. Hopefully, they'll probably tell you if it has. But people can go from, say, a sole proprietorship or a partnership to a corporation, and actually can go back again. So it can happen, but reasonably safe to assume that the company structure has been maintained if they're not telling you otherwise.